Mercedes' Australian Grand Prix was one of the worst races in a very long time. It wasn't just that they scored no points thanks to the double retirement, though that was definitely far from ideal. Even before then, things had been going pretty awfully for the team. Hamilton had finished second slowest in FP2 due to car troubles, and then when qualifying came around the next day, he exited in Q2, only managing 11th on the grid. George Russell's 7th wasn't much better, over 0.8 of a second slower than pole sitter Max Verstappen. On race day, the pain continued. Hamilton chose to start on the soft tyre in an attempt to take positions early, but he could only pass Fernando Alonso, who had started on the hards, before he had to pit and get rid of his quickly dying tyres. When his engine eventually died on lap 17, he was exactly where he started the race, sitting in 11th place. It was a similar story for George Russell, who by lap 57 found himself exactly where he started, in 7th position, but in reality, a position down due to Max Verstappen's retirement. His desperation to get past Fernando Alonso saw him repeat the mistake he made at the 2023 Singapore Grand Prix, wasting points with an error that the FIA blamed on Alonso but was definitely all Russell's. Today, I'm going to talk about the massive problem from Melbourne that Mercedes have no idea how to fix, and the effect their awful start to the season is having on Hamilton and Wolff. So, don't go anywhere. Lewis Hamilton's start to the 2024 F1 season has been the worst in his career. His retirement in Australia means under the new scoring system, it is his lowest scoring first 3 races ever, beating out his previous worst from the 2009 season when he was disqualified in Australia, finished 7th in the truncated Malaysian Grand Prix, and then 6th in China. Even with the halved points from the Malaysian Grand Prix, Hamilton would have had 11 points under the new system in 2009, 3 more than he currently does. For Mercedes as a team, you have to look back to when Michael Schumacher was driving for them to find a worse start to a season, 2011 being the only season they've scored less points. Of course, there is a natural ebb and flow to F1 form. Teams rise and they fall. Even a historical behemoth like Ferrari has its bad patches. But Mercedes dominated F1 for so long that their fall to 4th or even 5th fastest on the grid has shocked many people. With the ever-growing length of the F1 calendar, Toto Wolff had previously declared that he would be missing some Grand Prix, calling into the team radio from their headquarters in Brackley instead of his usual position at the back of the team's pits. One such race was meant to be this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix, but such is the magnitude of Mercedes' struggles that he's decided to change his plans, deciding that his presence is needed to help steer the team towards some better results. As a 1/3 owner of the team, Toto's position as team principal has always been questionable. He took that position after buying his share of Mercedes, and his only experience of the sport prior to that was from the comfy seat of the Williams F1 boardroom, a far way from the sweat and oil of the garage. After seeing both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell retire from the race in Melbourne, Wolff said it was fair to question his position as team principal. The Australian Grand Prix marked one of the lowest points in Wolff's tenure, as Mercedes' lack of pace was compounded by an engine failure for Hamilton and late crash for Russell. As a corner of this business, I need to be sure that my contribution is positive and accretive, Wolff said in Melbourne. I would be the first one to say, if someone has a better idea, tell me, because I'm interested to turn this team around as quickly as possible. And I'll happily give my input and see what that would be or who that could be. Wolff oversaw a period of historic success as Mercedes won 8 successive constructors' titles between 2014 and 2021, but the team have won just 1 race since new design regulations were introduced in 2022. We have a physics problem, not a philosophical or organizational problem, he added. We haven't swallowed a dumb pill since 2021. It's just we don't understand some of the behaviors of the car that in the past we would have always understood. Mercedes simulator problems are well known at this point. What they simulate in the factory is not what happens on the track. There is little that Wolff can do to fix that problem himself other than motivating his staff and making changes in personnel where necessary. However, the Australian Grand Prix proved that it isn't just in the aero department that Mercedes are having big problems. Hamilton was seen slowing on the back straight on lap 17 at Albert Park, reporting an engine failure over team radio before parking up at the side of the track. His steering wheel appeared to show no error messages, just that he was in 7th gear, and the commentary team couldn't work out what had gone wrong. There were no strange sounds, no plume of smoke, none of the normal indicators of an engine failure. Some fans theorized that he was just sick of driving an uncompetitive Mercedes and decided to pull out of the race. Mercedes have now shared some insight into what caused Lewis to pull to the side of the track and wait for recovery, though it won't stop the conspiracy theorists from speculating on what really happened. Asked during the team's post-race debrief video if they knew what had caused Hamilton's failure, Mercedes technical director James Allison said, "We do not. The power units will return to the safe hands of the guys at Brickworth, who will be able to figure out what let go. All we know is the symptoms at the time, which was a rapid loss of oil pressure, followed by a shutdown of the engine to protect it. When you know you've got a catastrophic loss like that, the best thing you can do for the future is kill it there and then you've not got like a load of molten metal. You have normally got a fairly clear evidence chain of what caused it, and then that lets you work better for the future. So we don't know yet. Brickworth and HPP will do that in short order." Mercedes aren't known for their power units breaking down, so to see Lewis pull over like that was a shock to fans and pundits. For now, Mercedes is saying that they aren't worried about the reliability problems, putting it down to a freak one-off rather than an underlying problem in the engine. As the team looks ahead to this weekend's race, they're finding reasons for optimism despite the awful start to the season. James Allison reckons that much of the ongoing issue with the team's 2024 F1 car is down to warmer track temperatures, which compromise the way the car handles the tyres. Despite the lack of outright pace, the W15 displayed flashes of encouraging pace at various parts of the race weekends. Hamilton led the way in the second practice in Bahrain, while the W15 appeared to be quick in the final practice in Melbourne. However, that performance always vanished come qualifying in the race. Technical director James Allison reckons that the team slowly identifies the root of the issues. We're starting to see a pattern emerge that most weekends we have a period in the weekend where we are feeling confident about the car. But then in the paying sessions, in qualifying in the race, that slips through our fingers, he admits. If we were trying to draw that pattern together, then probably the strongest correlation that we can make at the moment is that our competitiveness drops when the track is warm, when the day is at its warmest, and therefore the tyre temperatures rise with those of the track. That gives us some clues about what we need to do as we move forward from here. That poor tyre performance during warmer periods is a symptom of a problem rather than an issue itself. Every team uses the same tyres and drives at the same time of day, but how they use them will be very different. The W15 is unbalanced, as its predecessors the W14 and 13 were. An unbalanced F1 car doesn't stick to the track in the way it should. Instead, it'll slide over the surface. Those slides are rarely as dramatic as a drift car with massive plumes of smoke pouring from the tyres as the rubber disintegrates. In an F1 car, they're much smaller, but numerous tiny slides over the course of a lap causes increased mechanical degradation in the tyres, as well as increased temperature, which leads to more thermal degradation. With the track, and therefore the tyres, heating up more during the hotter periods of the day, this appears to be Mercedes' problem. The solution is to get the car more balanced, stop it sliding, and then the drivers can push without the fear of destroying their tyres prematurely. How Mercedes do that, though, is a far more difficult question to answer, and with their testing not matching up to the real world, all they can do is blindly bring upgrades and hope that they have the intended effect on the car. Not exactly a strategy for success, unfortunately. What's your opinion on Mercedes' start to the season? Can you see them turning it around with upgrades, or are the simulator problems just too big to overcome? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.